What is an accounts payable minimalist? Someone who strips out all the interruptions and non-value-added work so they can focus on the important issues at hand. In the case of accounts payable, that refers to the processing of invoices accurately and completely avoiding fraud, especially the new ones, complying with all regulatory mandates, of which there are many, and selectively and efficiently incorporating new technology to help achieve the mission of the most cost-effective process. Basically, these folks strip out all superfluous fluff and focus on the critical responsibilities that are critical to the success of any company, not just the success of the accounts payable department. Stick around while we discuss exactly how they do this. The minimalist can be the person who works and manages or has responsibility for the accounts payable function. Make sure you stick around until the end when we explain a common misconception about what an accounts payable minimalist is and the extra step accounts payable minimalists take beyond best practices to really maximize their value to their organizations. It's not really difficult at all, and you'll want to implement it in your operations ASAP. Hey guys, I'm Mary Schaefer, founder of AP Now, and we focus on best and emerging best practices for the accounts payable and payment functions. So let's take a look at this intriguing individual, the accounts payable minimalists, and see what they do. If you have one working for you, hang on to them. They are worth their weight in gold. Here's what they do to achieve an efficient and effective accounts payable process that is also cost effective. Step number one, they ruthlessly eliminate tasks that add no value. And there's a lot of that, as you know, in accounts payable. Take a good hard look at the work your staff is doing and evaluate it. My favorite time waster is the handling of invoices without all needed information, like the purchase order number or the name of the requisitioner. I'll have a link to a longer video in the description so you can see how they do this, including an example, a real-life example of one such company. Next, they eliminate as much paper as possible. By its very nature, accounts payable is a magnet for paper, and we've got to put an end to that. It's not good for the environment, and it's really not good for the efficiency of your accounts payable department. For starters, accounts payable minimalists encourage suppliers to send invoices by email or through a portal rather than through the postal mail, eliminating the tedious tasks of opening the mail, sorting it, and scanning. But when they do this, they make it quite clear to the suppliers, not that they all listen, that they only need to send one copies and not send a copy of the invoice to everyone they know in the company. If possible, they also drastically reduce the number of paper checks by converting them to ACH&P cards or even automating the accounts payable function. I could rail on for hours about the inefficiencies of paper checks, but instead I'll include a link in the description which talks more about the true cost of paper checks. It's a lot more than most people realize. And speaking of paper, accounts payable minimalists look for other ways to eliminate every scrap of paper in their department, beyond the invoice and the checks. You probably are doing most of what we suggest in our video on 10 different ways to get rid of paper and accounts payable, but just in case, I'll include a link in the description. You may have missed one or two. Next, accounts payable minimalists know how important it is to stay current on regulatory issues, especially 1099s, also sometimes referred to as information reporting. They allocate budget for training, especially in the fall, to review all the new 1099 rules. Now, if you're thinking, well, this isn't making you more cost effective, let me explain. It will be well worth the money you spend on that training. It will be a few dollars in comparison when you don't have to allocate those precious human resources to fixing problems when the IRS sends B notices, not to mention the fines and penalties. So I like to say, spend a dime to save a dollar. We'll include a link to the description to some 1099 best reporting practices in the description below. The next thing that accounts payable minimalists do is they complete bank reconciliations on a very timely basis to identify any unauthorized transactions they may have missed. I'll bet you didn't think we were going to include that. This is a task that's easy to put off, and many do, but that's not smart. And yes, we've got a link in the description to some best bank reconciliation best practices. And of course, when I say bank recs, I mean bank statement reconciliations. Next, accounts payable minimalists never ever miss an early payment discount. They understand why these discounts are so important. If you are not sure why these discounts are so important or how to calculate them, there's a link in the description to a longer video on this topic, but I'm guessing most of you know that. Hey guys, before I get to the last few things accounts payable minimalists do, I want to make sure that no one thinks that accounts payable minimalists are someone who does the least amount of work to hold on to their jobs. Now be honest, how many of you thought that before we started? Let us know in the comments. And also, by the way, let me know in the comments if you think I left anything out. Accounts payable minimalists also understand the value of dual screens, making sure that every single person on their team has 2 screens on their computer, both in the office and if they're working remotely, even 1 day a week at home. They fully understand how much more productive someone can be with dual screens and how they help with the need to eliminate paper. I haven't done a full talk on this, but if you think I need to do one or you'd like to see one, please let me know in the comments below. Accounts payable minimalists also realize that there's not much they can do to add money back to the bottom line, and hence they really understand the value of vendor credits, and they go after them aggressively because they understand if they do not go after them, they may lose them forever. There's a link in the description that describes why in more details. You may be in for a rude awakening if you watch it when you see just what your suppliers are doing with your vendor credits. Not all of them, but some of them, and more than you might think. And now, for that promised extra step, the tactic accounts payable minimalists use that others often don't consider. Whenever a mistake is made in accounts payable minimalists fix it. Okay, that's obvious. They understand that no one is perfect, and from time to time there will be mistakes. This is just the reality of the business world we operate in. But then they take that extra step. They take a little time to investigate what happened to ensure that it's not something that's happening over and over again. For if it is, that's going to add to mistakes happening over and over again, and it's going to be more money out the door. If they see it's a mistake, an ongoing mistake, accounts payable minimalists immediately adjust their processes to put an end to it. They also put an end to anything that they think could happen again and again so that it doesn't. We recently did a video on how to not make mistakes in accounts payable, which you can watch right now using the link that will appear momentarily on your YouTube screen and is in the description below. As always, we appreciate your thumbs up, your subscribes, and your comments.